Good morning. Welcome to today's walk and talk. I hope you're all fine. So a lot has happened in the market, and I want to give you an update. So I have to make some breaks in between probably because it's very steep. So you want to take a look. We have to crawl up this mountain somewhere, I don't know, to get back. So I haven't done a video since some weeks. You may notice I'm in a new location. So this is the reason. So let's get into the markets. The biggest thing that happened is actually this very big flash crash. By flash crash, I mean we had this event where 20 billion in positions got liquidated because now we actually know, but nobody wants to talk about it because they are afraid of Binance actually. What happened? So back then, a lot of stable coins and a lot of, just a second, a lot of stable coins depegged from the dollar, meaning that, for example, ENA, USDE depegged. So it was not $1 anymore. It was suddenly 60 cents or something like this. But what is important to know is that this was not the fault of ENA, the stablecoin protocol. It was the problem of the exchange. So mainly Binance, because they didn't have enough collateral in their collateral pool to support the peg. And then the execution happened and all assets depegged basically. So let's see if we can climb up there. It's quite steep, but let's give it a try. So everything depegged, so to say. And this caused massive liquidations because if you trade, then basically it's very important that you have a stable underlying, how you say it, a stable underlying asset, the trading pair that you are putting your liquidity in should be very stable, meaning that the problem in this liquidation was basically that not just your assets, let's say you have been trading Solana or whatever, Solana went down massively. Most of the altcoins went down 60%, some of them even 99%. And what that did is, of course, it wiped out lots of people. But the bigger problem actually was that not just did the price go so much down for the asset you are trading, the price went also very much down for the asset that you have collateral. So the problem is if you trade on DEX, on Drift, then I told you can use Solana as underlying asset, right? But if your underlying asset also goes down enormously, then you're getting liquidated. And this led to the fact that basically, even if you have, I think 1.1 or 1.2 leverage, which is very low, you would have been liquidated. And this was never there before. So we always made it. Let's see. We can make it up there or go over there. Just a second. Almost made it. Holding on to the bush. And jump. We made it. Good. Well, let's take a little break. So that meant that everybody who had leverage was liquidated. And this is very bad for the industry. This is very bad for the people. Even if you have a strategy like many people have, calling it a delta neutral strategy, meaning that you open a long and a short trade on a different exchange account or on a different account. You can also have like two different drift accounts, two different hyperliquid accounts, whatever accounts. On one you go short and one you go long with, let's say, a very conservative 1.5 leverage. Even this would have wiped you out in both directions. So I've seen people that have lost hundreds of millions in this crash. Also, the market makers could not get into the market to stabilize the market because the APIs of most exchanges went down. So the rumors I hear is that it was also caused by Binance, but nobody wants to mention this because Binance is very powerful. They can just delist your coin. They can be very influential in, damaging your project, trading against your project, and so on. So this seems to be the problem. Overall, I just checked my phone before we went on this little hike in the morning. Sun is not out. I saw that Bitcoin crawled up again almost to $16,000, which is very nice. And I still don't think that the bull market is over or has even started. Yes, it has started for quite a lot of assets already, but it has not started for the alt season, for the altcoins, for example. So we need to keep an eye on the pricing, and of course Bitcoin needs to run first, like it is starting to do now. Then we need Ethereum to pick up. I have checked this as well. I think it was at 4,200. And so it looks quite good at the moment. We had again a big dump, and at the moment, or over the latest weeks, it was very hard to trade. Again, after the liquidation, there have been very unusual wicks, meaning price breaking out down or up, but just for a millisecond, and probably just to wipe out traders to trigger the longs or trigger the stops. And even if you tried to trade gold again after everybody was saying gold is now done, it is the case that you can still, if you think, go and short it. But then what happened is that there was a heavy wick upside. So you got liquidated out of your trade. Then you enter a long position from, let's say, an order block. And what happens then? You get a wick to the downside. You're out of your trade again. And this is like the game over and over again. I have the feeling. So we're lucky we're back to the path where I came from. You see the sea is down there, and we have been down there. So at the moment, it is very difficult to trade. And it's probably better. It's always better to just make a decision in what asset you want to hold long term, buy the asset, and then hold it. By trading around, very unlikely that you make any money. Even if you watch the biggest players or listen to the biggest people in the field. I've just recently seen another Raoul Paul from Real Vision interview where he was talking about the fact that in his career as a trader on Wall Street with Goldman Sachs, he has not seen any traders, or maybe one trader or two traders, that have been successful in basically holding the assets. Let's go a little to the sea here again, just stay on top. So he said he has not seen any traders being able to hold the asset for quite a long time. So saying not hold it, trade it and make money. So it's probably not a good idea to trade in and trade out if you don't have a good system. So I'm not sure if the wind is too much here. So if you don't have a very good trading system, if you don't have trading rules you stick to, meaning you have like, I don't know, you're trading ITC, some money flow concepts, or you're trading some indicators that you trust in. If you don't have that, it's probably not a good idea to trade around, because you will not be able, very likely not be able to make a profit. So what I would suggest is, like we have talked in some of the other videos, try to understand the narrative, meaning that if you are in the industry enough, if you are listening to what people are actually saying, you will understand that you should buy certain assets because they will rise up quite heavily in the next weeks and months and years. But you have to be careful not to buy too early. One of the examples we have talked about very heavily already is Bit Tensor. Bit Tensor will be something that will be very high in price, but it is now not the right time, if you ask me, to buy it. Yes, there's the halving event in November, and it will be a big coin. But in my opinion, it's not a coin that you buy now. It's not a coin that you hold for this cycle. Yes, it's possible that it goes up, let's say like still 100% or more this cycle, but then it will heavily drop into, after the cycle is over, it will heavily drop. So you're probably going to be able to pick it up below $100, and it is now around, I think, $400. So this is not an asset that I would buy now. It is an asset that will be actually very interesting, because Bit Tensor is this combination between a Bitcoin and AI. So a lot of venture capitalists are actually jumping on the market. A lot of early stage venture capitalists in Silicon Valley are now telling their friends about Bit Tensor, and they say it's the new Bitcoin for them. So let's see what happens to that. It's also possible that they are doing this because we see some of them own actually shares in these big mining companies. And if you believe in the fact that Bitcoin is now a store of value, not for transactions, if you want to believe this, then it is also a way to basically bring capital to the miners, because Bit Tensor is working on proof of work like Bitcoin. There's also 21 million. And like I said, it is now the first halving that is happening for Bit Tensor. So let's just imagine that you would have been able to get into Bitcoin before the first halving. You can go back and look at the price. And now everybody is claiming like Bit Tensor is like the new Bitcoin, So this is a very good chance. But like I said, in my opinion, it is not the right time now to do this. It is a good asset, but not now. For ENA, I think it's different. ENA will always be a coin that you need to have before the bull market, and then you need to sell it, because it is mainly, packed by, I think, Solana and Ethereum, one part of it, and it is also, used on exchanges where people can just leave their money there. So, for example, if you trade on also Binance or whatever other exchange, you can leave your collateral there, you can leave your stable coins there, and you will get interest on your stable coins. So by just having your collateral there, you get interest. So this at least pays your fees that you would have for borrowing in some cases, depending what asset you're trading and so on. But it's a very good advantage. And the more it is used, the higher the ENA price will go. So this is an asset where you have to hold differently, think about differently. Then there is, of course, our old friends, Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum. Bitcoin, hold and store it away so you can't touch it. Then Ethereum, I would do the same for Ethereum, and Solana the same. So would you hold Ethereum or Solana? If you ask me, I would prefer to have Solana now, because Solana was built. Many people don't know this. The purpose of Solana was to actually replace or interact with the stock market or with Wall Street. So basically to replace the old system, meaning that you have just this very ancient system where you cannot really trade 24 hours. And Solana was actually made to replace the system with a blockchain. And now it's happening. Slowly we see these X stocks as tests, and soon the whole Wall Street will run on Solana. Just imagine what this will mean for the pricing. So a lot of people will now say, and what about Ethereum? I was thinking Ethereum is used for this. Ethereum will definitely not be used for Wall Street. Why is that? I mean, it's much too slow. It can't do the transactions you need to do. It's not that reliable. I mean, by that, I don't mean it's not working. But what I mean by that is also Solana is now building out fiber networks. So it's very important for trading on Wall Street. Every millisecond is very important. So Ethereum was not built for this. Ethereum's task will be smart contracts. The tokenization that BlackRock is planning, for example, this will run on Ethereum. And Solana will take the Wall Street trading stuff. So they're not fighting each other, if you ask me, because one is much better for this use case and the other is much better for the other use case. So they're not standing in each other's way. What else happened? We had quite a lot of discussions around who is Satoshi Nakamoto. I learned quite a lot. I would recommend to go and look up Simon Dixon, his YouTube channel. He's making this Bitcoin Hard Talk, and it was the episode he rolled out last Friday where he actually put together a very interesting combination of clips talking about or showing people talking about Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto. And some of the clips I have never seen or not realized what's in these clips. It was very interesting. So just to give you a brief overview what I learned. So I learned that actually in Japanese you have to, it's a Japanese name first of all, and you need to put it in a different combination. So it's not Satoshi Nakamoto because you need to do the last name first in Japanese. So it would be Nakamoto Satoshi, the right way to say it. And if you look at the meaning of the word, it means central. So Nakamoto Satoshi. Nakamoto means central, like central China, central Japan. I don't know what it was. And Nakamoto is something you could say for intelligence. So if you put these two words together, it is saying central intelligence. So this, I don't want to comment too much on that. You can take out your own thoughts from that, but this was not really what I learned from the video. You really have to go and look at yourself. This was just one point that is interesting because somebody, I think it was Richard Werner, who was actually living in Japan for quite a long time, and he just mentioned this, that you would have to put it in this order and that this is the outcome. The main thing why the video was done is that Tucker Carlson said that he would never buy Bitcoin because it's controlled by the CIA. And there was a lot of discussion if this can be true or not, or who's controlling this and that. It's very interesting because there have been people mentioned that I can't recall their names now, that are very likely or more likely than other people, Satoshi Nakamoto or Nakamoto Satoshi. So I would recommend to check that out and see if you can take out some information of that if you're interested in that. At the end, is it really important? You could say, yes, it is important for me because I'm an investor, or Bitcoin is my biggest asset, and I want to know what's going to happen with it in the future. And if it's somehow possible that somebody is controlling or has got, like, let's say, somebody is able to move Satoshi's coins or something, then they could heavily manipulate the market. This is true, but if you believe this is totally, that's fine. If you believe that, and it's true to a certain extent, but just have a look how they started to manipulate the gold markets. I will try to find the video and I can talk about it next time. The thing is, there was a very interesting documentation or podcast how they showed how they started to actually manipulate the gold market. And this has all to do with issuing paper certificates. We know now that there's much more paper and certificates of silver and Bitcoin. And this, in my feeling, I don't know, I find it very strange. Why is it that companies are buying millions and millions of Bitcoin and the price is not really moving? Yes, you can say they're buying it over the counter, but still, why is the price almost not moving at all? And what's also very interesting, this is not Bitcoin related, but what I noticed is if you sit a lot in front of the charts, again, it's very hard to trade because everything is moving in sync with Bitcoin. Meaning, if you have Bitcoin moving up just a little, you just switch the chart, go to Ethereum or almost every other asset, and you will see that this asset is doing the same move, right? So according to the large language models I ask, they say it's very likely because there's so many arbitrage, or there's so many bots, not arbitrage, but there's so many bots trading between the assets and taking like Bitcoin as main indicator for price movements, that almost every asset is moving like Bitcoin. I don't know. I find it very strange. And this makes it very hard to trade. So if you trade anything, it's probably best to just trade Bitcoin, because then you just, you don't fall into the trap that it looks like your asset is breaking out. You have a break of structure, or you have whatever indicator it's flashing for you as a buy sign. But then 5 seconds later, Bitcoin goes into the other direction, and it's not related to your asset, but your asset is just mirroring Bitcoin. So it's very hard. So I hope you enjoyed the walk and talk, and I'm not sure how the audio was in the beginning. I hope it was fine. And I see you tomorrow. Take care. See you. Bye-bye.